Bill Ackman is an investor who's been mired in controversy for as long as I can remember. It started with a vicious short attack on the company Herbalife, where Ackman built up a huge secret short position against the company and then outed them as a pyramid scheme that ought to be illegal in an attempt to tank the share price and make himself billions. Funnily enough, in that endeavor, he failed, but that wouldn't stop him from trying something similar again. Come 2020 and the onset of the COVID pandemic, and Bill Ackman once again built up a monstrous short position, selecting the companies that he believed would tank the hardest as the world shut down. Then he went live on CNBC and told the world that hell is coming, that this is the end and that every person ought to sell every stock they own, and that even then, this could still be the end. To be perfectly honest, I can't simply explain just how manipulative this was, and the only way for you to really understand is to hear it for yourself. But first, a really quick thank you to the Daily Upside for sponsoring this video. Visit the link in the description to learn more.
I do right now, though, want to bring in Bill Ackman on the phone. He took to Twitter today to urge the president to take more dramatic measures to stop the spread of the virus. Bill, I thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Scott.
A number of ideas you put forth. I'm going to read one of them for our viewers to start. Mr. President, the only answer is to shut down the country for the next 30 days and close the borders, you say. Tell all Americans that you are putting us on an extended spring break at home with family, keeping only essential services open. The government pays wages until we reopen. I know from our conversations that you have been worried for some time. How did it manifest today with these tweets and going public?
Well, maybe just a little bit of context. You know, I'm an optimist, but beginning in, late January, I was getting increasingly bearish, and I woke up with a nightmare. But now, take a look at Hilton stock. We're a major shareholder of Hilton. Hilton is the canary in the coal mine. This is an incredibly well-capitalized, amazing, dominant global company that actually doesn't own many hotels. It just collects royalties. It's down from like 120 to 50. Okay, it's going to zero. Okay, along with every other hotel company in the world. Park Hotels and Resorts. This, stock's down from 33 to 4. This is a spinoff from Hilton. Why is it down from 33 to 4? Because every hotel is going to be shut down in the country. Everyone. What will happen is, the hotel industry and the restaurant industry will go bankrupt first. Boeing is, on the brink. Okay, Boeing will not survive without a government bailout. Okay, so look at airline industry, auto industry, restaurant industry, hotel industry. Yeah, so I called the CEOs of a number of our companies. Okay, and told them my concerns. Okay, the companies we're closest to. And to stop the buyback programs, to husband resources, to draw down their credit lines, because hell is coming.
So the markets crashed as they looked to Ackman as an authority, and when they bottomed, Ackman exited his short positions and bought back into the markets and made himself a cool $2 billion in a matter of days. Now, he understandably got some flack for this, but he apparently had no remorse, as come late 2021, Bill Ackman started doing something that seemed awfully familiar to an awful lot of people. He started tweeting about the chaos that the US economy was about to face, and he made it clear that the only way for the economy to survive was for interest rates to be hiked, for monetary policy to tighten, and for capital markets to accept that the bull run was over. Coincidentally, once again, he had taken out massive short positions against what basically amounted to the US economy as a whole. Now, if that was all this was, tweets about the chaos that might be on its way, then maybe there wouldn't have been such a huge problem. But the issue is that Ackman is a man of authority. When he speaks, people listen. And to make matters worse, Bill Ackman was literally speaking to the New York Federal Reserve, some of the people who influence and decide on how interest rates should be set. Once again, it seemed Ackman had taken out a short position and then used his influence, every ounce of it that he could, to ensure that the markets moved in the right direction and in the process make himself billions of dollars. Now, before I go any further, let me quickly tell you about today's video's sponsor, The Daily Upside. If you are struggling to find crisp, unbiased financial news, The Daily Upside may be the solution to your problem. The Daily Upside is a free business and investing email newsletter that over 280,000 people subscribe to, myself included. It was founded by a team of financial professionals with the intention of providing clarity and context on the events shaping the business world. Every weekday, they deliver a morning brief followed by more detailed stories that are shaping the business world. It's become something that I read every morning as it's informative, witty, and not dumbed down. They go beyond the headlines and provide real analysis on the most important news of the day. Recently, they had a piece about the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the implications that could have for the insurance market that could cost companies tens of billions of dollars. Whether you are a financial professional or just looking to get a jump start on the news moving the markets, the Daily Upside is the perfect solution. It's totally free to sign up, and they send you one information-filled email every morning. As someone who looks to stay on top of the news to create videos like this one, I can't recommend it enough. Sign up using the link down below in the description. Now, apparently, the call for the Fed to raise interest rates wasn't enough for Ackman, because more recently, he went one step further and he started advocating for US involvement in the war in Ukraine. Now, to be perfectly honest, if I covered literally everything he said, then we would be here for over an hour just reading his tweets. So I'll pick the ones which best encapsulate his view and then link to the rest of the threads so you can see them all if you like. So what exactly did Ackman say? Well, on the 6th of March, just over a week after Russia invaded Ukraine, Ackman came out and tweeted this. In January 2020, I had nightmares about the potential for a pandemic, but everyone seemed to think I was crazy. I am having similar nightmares now. World War III has likely started already, but we have been slow to recognize it. Putin has invaded Ukraine and it is not going well for Russia. NATO and Biden have refused to create a no-fly zone and have said that we will not enter the war to defend Ukraine. Yet Biden has said that if Russia attacks a NATO country, we will intervene. By setting a hard line based only on NATO membership, doesn't this give Putin carte blanche to invade and subjugate Sweden, Finland, Cyprus, Ireland, Austria, Malta and Switzerland and the rest of the former Soviet Union? As a thought experiment, ask yourself a few questions. What if, instead of using rockets to kill civilians, Putin used gas chambers? Would that change our willingness to intervene? Why should it matter what type of weapon is used to kill civilians in our determination of whether to intervene? Is there a threshold number that must die before we decide to do more? When I was a child and learned about the Holocaust, I asked my grandparents why they didn't do more to save millions of people from genocide during World War II. They didn't have very good answers. What will we say to our grandchildren when they ask us why we allowed tens or hundreds of thousands or millions of Ukrainians to die? I hope we are all around to answer these questions. We need to reconsider a no-fly zone and further NATO military intervention. Because of the Ukrainians' capable military, we fortunately don't need to send more troops to help them succeed. Basically, Bill Ackman laid out a moral case by which NATO and the US in particular should create a no-fly zone above Ukraine and shoot down any Russian aircraft that violate that order. Now, we are not here to debate the morality of this war in Ukraine or the morality of Western involvement or lack thereof. We're simply here to talk about what Ackman has just done, and what he laid out in those tweets was a justification for war with Russia. Now, prior to this, Ackman had already tried to sway public opinion here on the 28th of February by imploring Biden to assist the Ukrainians in every way possible. He once again specifically called for Western intervention, calling upon President Biden to send soldiers, sailors, airmen and Marines in to stop the Russian invasion. He even went so far as to cite his friends in the US Navy SEALs as people who wish they were there, putting an end to this senseless war. Now again, I'm not here to debate whether or not our soldiers want to be there, and frankly, I think Bill Ackman is right about a lot of stuff here. I personally have friends in the British Armed Forces, and the mood there is exactly as Ackman claims it is in the US. It's full of soldiers who know just how much of an impact they could make if they were allowed to go to Ukraine, but they're being forced to stay at home and watch innocent civilians die. The problem here is that Ackman's motives need to be considered, and his past actions need to be considered as well. We know for a fact that Ackman has a history of building up short positions and then using his position as an authority on markets to ensure they move in the direction that profits him most. We've seen it 3 times before with Herbalife, COVID, and then interest rate hikes as well. We also know for a fact that Ackman had short positions a few months ago. On October the 29th, Ackman tweeted, "As we have previously disclosed, we have put our money where our mouth is in hedging our exposure to an upward move in rates, as we believe that a rise in rates could negatively impact our long-only equity portfolio." He told us clear as day that he is short American equities right there, and since October, the markets rose, but then they started to fall, and Ackman is probably sitting around breaking even on his trades right now, and he needs the market route to continue for his positions to become profitable. What we have to ask ourselves is, if the West's involvement in Ukraine became hot, if we had jets in the sky and boots on the ground, would markets rally on this news, or would they enter a new market route? Well, the reality is, there are a lot of people saying we're already at war with Russia, and they're kind of right. We're already in an economic war with Russia, and the impacts of that on the markets have been seen for almost 2 months now. In short, it's not good for asset prices. Almost 1/3 of all wheat produced in the world comes from Russia and Ukraine. Now, Russia is unwilling to sell that wheat to us, and Ukraine is unable. So the chances are we're about to see a famine take hold around the world, which is bad for markets. Russia is also, of course, a major exporter of oil and natural gas, and we've already seen energy prices skyrocket on the invasion of Ukraine, as it now seems clear that this trade between East and West balances on a knife edge, but it isn't just energy prices that are on the rise. Steel prices in Europe are at record highs, nickel prices too, and corporations in the West have almost unanimously agreed to stop operating in Russia, harming their bottom lines. The markets, or investors I should say, obviously don't like this, and it's bad for asset prices, and to be perfectly honest, I can't imagine that a full-blown war with Western soldiers dying in Ukraine would be any better. Is it so unreasonable to think that Bill Ackman is capable of being so self-absorbed, so corrupted by his next paycheck, that his words, his equivocations are based solely on crashing the markets so his short positions win out? We know for a fact that he's done this kind of thing before, and while his position may have some moral backing, while it may be a defendable position on its own, when it comes to someone who seeks to profit off of the back of that position, that moral high ground, in my opinion at least, goes out of the window. The reality is here, we really don't know what's going on inside Bill Ackman's head, but we do know that what he's calling for would be catastrophic for the markets, and we know that he and his fund is positioned to profit if that is what happens. With that knowledge, we should be careful when listening to him. That doesn't mean we ignore what he has to say or throw away his arguments based purely on who's making them, but we should always try to dig a little deeper and see what other motives might be at play. Finally, I want to give the Daily Upside one more thank you for partnering with us on this video. If you haven't subscribed already, click the link in the bio to receive their weekday and weekend edition absolutely free. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like and comment and subscribe to bless the YouTube algorithm. If you want more content like this, then check out our Patreon and join our community of investors. You get access to our Discord, loads of exclusive content like insight into my portfolio and buy and sell alerts for all my own investments. There's a link in the description to masterworks.io, a site that allows you to buy fractional shares of art from world famous artists like Banksy, which can be a great way to diversify your portfolio with non-market correlated assets. It's completely free to sign up, so if that sounds interesting, then make sure to check it out. There's also a link in the description to BlockFi, which will give you up to $250 in free Bitcoin when you use it. You can also get 9% interest on stablecoins like USDC, which is a far higher rate than you get from any savings account these days. Just make sure not to use Tether. Thank you all for the support. Thanks for watching. Stay stoic. Until next time.